You're on Studio Live today. In this episode, we're taking a look at all of the free plugins that are included in GarageBand iOS. There's 10 of them. I'm going to give you a crash course on all 10. We're also going to give you some hints, some tips, and news of the week is all about WWDC. So let's get on into it, shall we? Let's go.
GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly.
Yes, it is that time of the week to talk about GarageBand, but bigger than that, it was the Worldwide Developers Conference 2022, hosted by Apple over there in Cupertino, California, and we got some news and notes from that to talk about. So that is what we're going to lead off with in just a few minutes, but just so that you know everything that's going on in this show, we're going to do that. I'm going to do a turbo breakdown. So if you don't want to watch the 2 hours, don't worry, I did it for you. Yeah, superlatives out the wazoo. So we'll do that. We're then going to look at some free plugins in GarageBand iOS, and then we're going to have a rant about the fact that it might not be for you. And that's just things in general. Like, not everything is for everyone. You can't please them all, as they say. We've then got some questions from you. If you've got questions, you can throw them right here in the chat. Our plugin of the week and our tip of the week as well. So all of that and a bucket of fish coming up right here on the show. Let's say g'day to the folks who are here live, shall we? Hello to the one and only Mark Bro. Hello, Thomas Christ. G'day, Joe and Barry. Glenn. Hello to Ashley HM. Hello to Jade. Stars in the house. The Mix Club is here as well. Thank you all for joining us here, and I hope you're having a good old weekend. Although the weekend's over, let's be honest. It's Tuesday morning here, and it's Monday for folks over in other parts of the world. Alrighty. Should we just rip the Band-Aid off here? Yeah, let's get this little presentation going on here, and we're going to do this. We'll be recording this as a separate standalone video, so you guys get to watch me do it live. We're doing it live, and then we'll be snapping this off, and it'll become its own separate one. So we're going to need a little coffee, a little coffee to clear the throat. My wife just went to our local cafe and grabbed me a soy latte, so I'm going to be flying through this one, I can assure you. And let's crack on and talk about, WWDC 2022. Apple have just made their WWDC 2022 announcements. All of them live on... No, they're not live. Should we try that again? This is the beauty part of recording things live. I can do a take two, and I don't have to be stuck with it because no one will ever know. In this video, we're going to go through what was announced at WWDC 2022, and we're going to do it in a turbo way. So if you want to know everything, strap on in. The first thing that was talked about here is iOS 16. Now, we've got some new lock screens. That's going to be kind of cool. Android users have had this for a long time. It gives you the ability to have some extra widgets on your lock screen of your iPhone. I think that'll be pretty handy for a lot of folks. Notifications are moving from that weird thing at the top to a stacked view at the bottom. Probably going to be better for most people. I know I'll be looking forward to notifications getting out of my way. We've got some new live activities. So for your music, your sport, your workouts, you can actually get all of that just popping up there, and it'll be live. Instead of, a notification every 5 minutes, it's just going to update live. So that's going to be fun and games. We've also got a focus update. So this now carries over into apps. So apps can have a focus mode, and it just means that you can set different apps. And I like that the example they gave was you can set your Safari so that during work hours, you're only looking at your work tabs. Like, yeah, lock everybody down, right? Now, this is the stuff that I was watching the news this morning. This is what they were excited about. You can now edit your messages. So if you send a message and instead of saying Gabe, you say babe, that was their example, you can go back in and edit that. Now, there appears to be about a 15-minute window. That's what's sort of been in the weeds. So I don't think you can edit it forever, but hey, by then someone's probably looked at it already anyway. You can also undo your sends. So if you send something and you didn't mean to send it, you can undo it. And again, going to be a bit time limited there. So if you drunkenly text your ex the night before and you wake up in the morning full of regret, probably going to be too late, she cried. But it's still there as an option. If you send, especially the wrong message to the wrong person, can sometimes be a pain. We also have the markers unread, which is going to be handy for a lot of folks, especially me. Sometimes someone will message me and they'll say, oh, I saw you read my message, and why didn't you get back to me immediately? Well, because priorities. So if you are like that, or if you have people in your life that message you and you need to mark them unread, you can do that. This one I'm pretty excited about, new dictation features. So there's a hybrid of speech and typing that you can use. So that means that if you're using iOS and you're typing on there, you can use the dictation feature and then quickly flick between the keyboard and dictation. I think that's going to be handy. Live text in videos through the camera. So this is kind of cool. You might know that live text is available in iOS. And now, if you're watching a video, you can pause the video and extract live text from that. Now, I don't know if that's going to work in things like the YouTube app or other apps, but it's a good step in the right direction, because sometimes I'm watching something on a video and I'm like, oh, what was that plugin settings? And then you can just like grab a snapshot of it and get it into text mode. That'd be kind of cool. And visual lookup. So this is similar to your Google image search, where you can search instead of via text, you can search based on the image. So that is coming to iOS 16. Now the wallet's got a bunch of updates here. You can now store your IDs in a lot of different states. You can now store a bunch of keys for various different things. You can start your BMW. I don't think they're coming to Mitsubishi anytime soon. Anyone like me that drives a non-luxury car. And you get in-app ID verification. So if you need to verify your ID to an app, you can just say, hey, yeah, look, I'm 18, I'm 21, because it's all going to be in there for you. This one's cool. I thought the use case for this one would be great for buskers who would be able to actually use this, but it's only at the moment available for some vendors and in the US. But iPhone to iPhone tap and pay with Apple Pay. Can you imagine being out and being a busker and you just whip out your iPhone and you're like, yeah, send me a donation via Apple Pay. Yeah, it could be a lot of fun. Pay later, it's Afterpay. Apple are doing it, again, 2 years after everyone else is doing it. So if you want to pay things off in 4 equal payments instead of all at once with your Apple gear, you have an option now. You can also track your orders through your wallet. So if you use Apple Pay to buy something, you can get order updates and tracking in there. There's new maps available, and they talked about new maps across Australia, Canada, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, all those countries. And they're coming to these countries. So I can see Glenn Clark here in the chat. These countries in the coming months. Now, I use Google Maps, so I'm not a big Apple Maps user anyway, but maybe this will encourage me to go check out Apple Maps again. We'll race through family sharing. This is going to be good for folks like me who have children. They need to manage their kids' accounts. They need to set up parental controls. It's now going to be a heck of a lot easier. And that's good, because I've just done this about a year ago with my children's devices. It was not easy. It now will be easy. So that's going to be cool. We're going to have an iCloud shared family photo library, which could be super handy / quite embarrassing if the wrong things are shared, just quietly, but that's there. This is a good feature that Apple have added here. So this is a safety check, which means that particularly for those in like domestic violence situations, there's going to be an option in iOS 16 to basically wipe the slate clean. So if you're sharing things like your location, like your passwords with someone, and you're in an abusive relationship or something happens, you can immediately revoke that, which I think is a good thing and shows that Apple's pretty committed to that. They then went into the home, and you can watch it. If you're an Apple home user, go watch the keynote. There's some interesting things there. The main thing is that they've got a new platform called Matter, which is going to be like a cross-platform across all of the different stuff that you can check out there. CarPlay can now drive your car. Not quite, but this one's interesting. So for those like me who have CarPlay that looks like that, now CarPlay is actually going to expand. Some cars are going to be built with virtual dashboards where the Apple CarPlay can show different information on your dashboard. Anyone else find this slightly terrifying, or is it just me? Yeah. So when your iOS crashes, your car does too. Maybe not. Go check that out if you're into your CarPlay stuff. There's all the iOS features. There's a lot going on there. This is just an additional one. I thought this was funny. Personalized spatial audio. So if you use AirPods, you may be aware that they use spatial audio, which basically means, when you move your head around, it moves in the space with the screen. They're now going to have that personalized. You can take a photo of your head. So if you've got a weird shaped melon, not pointing any fingers, then you can actually take a photo and it can set that up for the distance of your ears and your facial features. So I thought that was kind of cool. A little bit of a hidden gem in there that's coming to iOS 16. WatchOS version 9 is coming. It's a thing. Fitness. It's being updated for fit people, and our Aussie bloke there, who was very fit looking, was telling us all about that. So again, if you're into that, not that it's not important, not that it doesn't matter, but this is the turbo. This is the edition for folks who don't want to watch the 2 hours. So you know what was there. There's some updates to WatchOS and fitness that are going to enhance that for some folks. All right. We've absolutely buried the lead because the big news was what we expected, that we've got the M2 chip. So if you've been following along at home, if you watched my update from over a year ago, the M1 chip kind of changed things. That's where the first Mac Minis and MacBook Airs and MacBook Pro 13 inches were released. And now we have the M2 chip. So this is your the new MacBook Air and the new MacBook Pro 13 inch have this M2 chip. It's similar but faster. And if you're confused about this, if you're like, is the M2 better than the M1 Pro and Max and Ultra? No, it's not. So the way it works is that the M1 was the original chip, and then that was enhanced and built upon with the Pro, the Max, and the Ultra. This is the M2. So it's better than the M1, but it's not necessarily better than any of those Pro, Max, and Ultras. So if you're confused about that and you're like, why would I ever buy an M1 Ultra or an M1 Max now? It's still going to be a lot more powerful than this base level M2 chip, just to clarify that one for you. So what do we get? Well, we get a MacBook Air. A MacBook Air, which is the M2 13.6 inch. Everything is pretty similar here in terms of the original one. There's a couple of changes here. We have a new camera. They've finally moved to a 1080p high definition camera rather than the potato that was in the old versions. So that's good news for those using FaceTime and the camera there. Still got that same Magic Keyboard. This we've got MagSafe on there, which is pretty cool. And we've also got a maximum of 24 gigabytes of RAM. So one of the big criticisms of the 2020 M1s was that they had a maximum of 16 gig. Apple have added an extra 8 gigabytes of delicious RAM to that, so you can soup up your MacBook Air. There's the MacBook Pro, very similar sorts of features. The touch bar is back. So that's one of the main differences really between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. They use the same chip, same cores, same specifications basically. They've got slightly better microphones and speakers, and they have the Magic Keyboard and touch bar. So Apple must have had a bunch of chassis with touch bar laying around, so they decided to keep them and throw that in there for them. There's your prices. MacBook Air starting from $11.99. To give you the comparison, the M1 MacBook Air is $9.99. So it is a $200 premium that you're paying from what we paid 2 years ago, which is understandable with all the supply issues and all the inflation issues and everything else. So yeah, I was expecting it to land around there. And the MacBook Pro is sitting pretty at $12.99 as well there. Mac OS is now going to be called Ventura, which apparently is another place in California that I know little about, but they seemed very excited about it. So there you go. iOS Ventura. Stage Manager. This is coming to both Mac OS and iPad OS, sort of. Hold that thought. I'll tell you about it in a moment. But the Stage Manager is this one here. So this is the ability to have your little icons down the side there and then have your one main thing in the middle there. So it gives you a different way to view your screen. And I kind of like it. It's more reminiscent of Windows than it is of Mac. And a lot of this stuff is kind of borrowing from things like Windows and Chrome OS, to be very honest. We also have new changes to Spotlight, has updates like live text and photo search. Mail, if you use Apple Mail, it's updating. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to enhance your search and your mail experience if you use Apple Mail. I use Gmail. I know a lot of people do as well, but if you like your Apple Mail, go for it. Safari is being updated. It's getting tab sharing. If you want to collaborate on your tabs, you can do that. That's a cool thing. This is one that I think is actually pretty cool. So this is the pass keys. Now, if you're like me, you've got passwords everywhere and you can never remember your passwords. So what pass keys are is a way to use Face ID or Touch ID instead of a password with your devices and with your apps. It's synced across all of your Apple devices, and it's similar to how it works now. Like, you'd probably notice that if you don't know your password, it'll sometimes pop up and say you want to use it, and then it verifies you, and then it throws in the password. The benefit of this is there's no password at all. So there's no way that someone can manually enter it. It's very much more difficult to be socially engineered or for anyone to hack in. And you know, there's been leaks out the wazoo over the last few years of passwords. So passwords can't be leaked if they don't exist. So the proof will be in the pudding as to how this goes. And if you're wondering, well, what about if you're on another device? You can actually use like your iPhone, and there's a QR code kind of thing, similar to what you use when you're setting up a new iPhone. You basically, looks like you can take a photo of that and then use the credentials. And it means that instead of having to remember stuff, you're actually using something that you own. You're using your identity to open things. What could possibly go wrong, right? I think it's pretty cool. Next up, gaming. I didn't really look much about gaming. It looks like it's good, but I don't play games on any of my Apple devices, so I'll skip past that. Let's FaceTime. So FaceTime can now hand off between your phone, your iPad, and your Mac. So if you're out and about taking a call, you can come back and switch it over to your Mac. That could be handy in some situations. I don't use a lot of FaceTime, so probably not going to be handy. All right. This one's going to be fun. You can now use your iPhone as a Face ID camera. So the way this works is that they've teamed up with Belkin. There's these little clips that go on the top of your screen. You attach them to your iPhone and then you put it there. If this was on the 1st of April, I would think it's some sort of weird April Fool's thing, but it's not. It's actually a real thing, I believe. So if you've ever thought, well, the webcams are not that good, and if only I could use the great camera that is on my iPhone to do my FaceTime calls, my Zoom calls, my everything else, well, now you can. And it's called the continuity camera. So we'll see how that worked. It looked cool in the demo, but it looks a bit clunky. It's almost like when the new Mac Studios came out, I'm like, that's not really Apple design. Like Johnny Ive would not have approved of this, the previous Apple head of design, because it just looks a bit goobery, doesn't it? It doesn't, like, you got this slick MacBook Pro with these nice thin bezels, and then you just whack on this chunky three-eyed thing onto the back. But that's where it's at, so that's what they're doing. I like this Studio Light, so there's some cool lighting options you can do now that basically enhances the brightness and blurs the background, so you look kind of like I do here, like you're using Studio Light, so that's pretty cool. And this one was really wacky. Desk view. So because the iPhone has a wide-angle lens, it can actually look down, and then it must be doing some cool processing to actually make the desk look like it's actually flat. So it can show your face and your desk at the same time. That's pretty cool technology, if it works as advertised. What do you reckon? All right. That's all the macOS stuff. There it is, all there, ready for you to take a look at. Collaboration in documents you can now do. So if you've ever tried to collaborate in documents, you'll know that if you send a document to someone, it just sends a copy. Now it'll actually send a link into the original document, and you'll be able to check that out and collaborate with them. Freeform is coming later this year, and this is the ability to do, let's be honest, what you've been able to do in Zoom and Google Meet and every other platform for years, which is have a whiteboard, have an interactive whiteboard session while you're on a FaceTime call. So Apple are pretty aggressively trying to go towards, you should, if you're all on Apple stuff, use FaceTime for all your collaborations, all your meetings, all your conversations. We will see. We'll see if that takes on. But it's good to see. You know what? If they're catching up, that's fine. And it'll just mean that my comments will again be full of, well, Apple are finally catching up to Android. It only took 15 years. Yes, correct. What do you want them to do? Not? Anyway. M1. Right. So, desktop class apps. Now, this is where a lot of folks are starting to froth at the mouth, because you're thinking, are we finally there? Desktop class apps, Logic on the iPad, Final Cut on the iPad. No, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but no, or at least not quite. But what we're getting is some more desktop features. Now, these are some enhancements. So there's some enhancements to the Files app in there. Now, this was a bit unclear as to whether these are going to be across all iPads and iPadOS or just the M1s, but the other features that are being added to iPadOS 16 are definitely only for the M1 iPads. I think things like these file updates, which look cool, like actually being able to, sortable columns in files and viewing folder sizes in files. Maybe they'll even give us a progress bar with a time on it instead of just sitting there spinning, maybe. So anything that's going to enhance Files apps is going to be good. You're going to get customizable toolbars in some of the apps there. Display scaling, which means you can zoom in and out on your iPad, so you're not stuck at that default resolution. And this is the one that I know many folks, I know my friend Jade Starr has been hanging out for this for a long time. You can now use all 16 gigabytes of RAM and do virtual memory swap, which means if you've got storage space, because SSD storage is not quite, but almost as fast as memory, you can use any storage space as additional memory for those real memory hungry applications. So yeah, we're finally getting a reason why you may want to consider the M1 iPad if, like me, you're sitting with one of the old A series chip iPads. Stage Manager, as we mentioned before, is also coming to the iPad, but it appears to be just, again, iPads with M1. And that's the same sort of thing there. This is pretty cool. So this is probably the feature that will make me want to get an M1 iPad. You can now, and this for creators out there, this is the one. You can now use proper external display support. So for the longest time, all you've been able to do with your iPad is mirror your iPad. So for people like me, there's my iPad. I can mirror it into my Mac. I can use an HDMI cable. I can send exactly what's on my iPad to my screen. Now we're going to be able to do this if you have an M1 iPad. So that means that if you're running something like GarageBand, you can have your notes and you can sing along and you can have your notes there and your GarageBand on the screen. If you're doing applications in things like Procreate, you could be able to have like one screen open with a bunch of notes or with conversations or your collaboration, and your other screen can be dedicated to your creativity. So this is the one. If there's anything in this whole announcement, this is the one that I'm actually kind of happy about, and it will definitely eventually push me over the edge to get a new iPad. And here are my top 5. So I've decided to show you the top 5 features that I'm, the top 5 things that I thought were cool out of this announcement. And that is the new Macs, because again, every time new Macs are announced, it does a couple of things. If you're in the market for a new Mac, a new MacBook Air with M2 for $11.99 is a pretty darn good deal. That's going to be a powerhouse. If you're a GarageBand creator and you're using a Mac, that'll be an upgrade from pretty much anything you're using right now. So that's a good deal. I'm fascinated by the little put your iPhone on top of your Mac to do the camera thing. And I'm wondering if that's going to work with a lot of things that I do, like StreamYard and other web-based apps. I fear not. I fear it's going to be locked down to native Mac apps, FaceTime and maybe Zoom and other things, but we'll find out. We'll find out very soon. The desktop display. I'm definitely keen to find out about the multi-desktop stuff. This one here, which I didn't really talk about with what I did, is the video, the text in videos. I think that could be cool to be able to pause a video and pull out live text from the video. And the passkeys. I don't remember my password, so passkeys could be an interesting one as well. That is all of the announcements from WWDC 2022. And we did it in 15 minutes without a single mention of the word gorgeous or stunning. So there you go. We succeeded. Hello, Dwight Bailey. All right, I'm gonna scroll back up here because I know that there was some questions and comments as we went through there. So we'll capture any of those as we go. Was I blurry? Hello, Glenn Clark, by the way. Was I blurry for a moment there? It might have just been doing that. You'll be watching the Rangers, right? Yes, I'll be watching the Rangers tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah, the game's tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, the next game. Yeah, change the quality. If you're watching, you can change the quality settings in your YouTube, because sometimes it'll downgrade if there's a problem with that. Hello, Danny Gable, by the way. Undo sends. Yeah, right. Funny, I was talking to my daughters about these changes this morning, and I said, oh, you can now undo, like remove a send, and you can edit your text. And she's like, you haven't been able to do that already? Like, why? I'm like, yeah, I know. Don't worry, I know. It probably should have been here a while ago. Let's continue. I'll just see if there's any other comments or people that I haven't seen. Hyundai must be pretty low on the... Yeah, I don't know that the Hyundai Excel or the Mitsubishi, whatever I own. What do I have? I can't even remember. I drive so little, I can't remember the car that I own. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be it's going to be in the BMWs. That seems to be who Apple partner with a little bit. Skynet, yeah, Skynet's happening. Oh, you reckon iOS 16 is the start of the fall? Yeah. Is there anything? I didn't see anything devastating. I didn't see anything devastating that would be that would cause their end. They are a $2 trillion company, so it might take more than a dodgy iOS. As we've proven in the past, it may take a lot more than a dodgy iOS update to even if you think it's dodgy to make Apple go there. Alrighty. How long does that watch battery last? Yeah. So the Apple Watch, I did skip over that. The difference is if you're like me, you used to use a Fitbit, you're going to have to be charging your Apple Watch a heck of a lot more. I used to charge my Fitbit maybe once every 4 or 5 days. Apple Watch, I can get through 2 days, but if I go for a third, it won't work. So I'm just in the habit of charging it overnight. So there we go. Yes, go find it now. I know, it's so funny. It's so funny when folks... I mentioned it in the update there that I'm going to get a bunch of people telling me that, oh my goodness, it's so cute that Apple are finally catching up with some of these changes that Android have done. I'm like, yeah. Have you tried creating music on Android lately? Go and make a song on Android without tearing your hair out, and then come back and talk to me about Android versus iOS. Right? Do I want it? Yes. Do I need it? Hell no. Exactly. Yes. I didn't even get the Ace Ventura thing, Jay, but yeah, macOS Ace Ventura. Somebody stop me from getting a new Mac. Alrighty then. That was terrible. Just awful. Yeah, I've never really used Apple Mail either. I just didn't do it. Mixclub says I can't wrap my head around multiple desktops. I don't know how to open them up. Just sometime they are there. Yeah, so I mean, I've got a very simple setup here with two desktops. And look, it's literally only two screens. So my desktop is just spread across two screens. But yeah, I don't do anything particularly adventurous. Thomas says still haven't updated to Catalina. Perhaps I should get on that. Yeah, just wait a few. Yeah, Monterey, the newest one. Yeah, that's all right. Alrighty, cool. What are Apple going to do? iOS for the iPad and the iPhone? I just went through all that. No, you can just if you just came late, I went through all of the updates that Apple did. We did a turbo edition. I did 2 hours in about 12 minutes. So you can scroll to the front of this one and you can check it out. Good stuff, Leela. Get working on that latest video. Do it. Alrighty. I'm just going to see if we got any other final questions. G'day to Sion. Yes, this is the Apple verse. Hello, RLB Link. Hello, everyone else. Alright, okay, we're good. So if you do have any other questions related to the updates or, of course, related to anything else GarageBand related, you can drop it there. How does this affect GarageBand and creators in general? Well, to me, again, the good news is that when new Macs come out, the second half of why it's good when new Macs come out is the refurbed Macs. So I think for stuff on the go, I think the M1, knowing my Mac Mini, which is the M1 with 8 gigabytes and 256 gig hard drive, the absolute base model, is perfect. I'm using it right now for everything I'm doing right now. Touch wood. This is a time where it'll just go, but it does what I need it to do. The M1 MacBook Airs, heck of a lot of people are going to be trading those suckers in, and they are still a beast. So for a GarageBand creator, for a Logic creator, for anyone doing even video editing stuff, the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 and the 13-inch MacBook Air M1 are now going to become very, very more affordable because there'll be a lot more refurbs and a lot more secondhand ones on the market. So anytime, yeah, same Mac Mini. Look, I've been watching videos about the old, like a lot of folks have done exactly what I did. Their first Mac was a Mac Mini, and it's doing better than any other machine that they've used, which is the case for me. Hello, Bubba. We're going to have some coffee and then we're going to move on because that was a lot of not quite GarageBand stuff, but hey, I could say I watched the 2 hours so you can just hang out with me and get it all a lot quicker. All right, let's go and check my notes here and see what we're going to do. All right, feature topic. I thought it was time for us to dive back into GarageBand here and look at all of the free plugins that we have available. So yeah, as you know, there are plenty of third-party plugins that you can use. You can jump in here to plugins. You can download them all. Jade Star shows a bunch of them. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can use. But it's really important, I think, to understand that these 10 plugins do a heck of a lot. And if you haven't fully explored these, don't go spending all your dollars and euros and pounds on a bunch of expensive plugins over here just to get something that you could probably do here. So it's kind of that whole knowing your limitations. Know the rules so you know when to break them, and knowing your limitations so that you know what's going to be better than the base version or that stock plugin. So that's what we're going to do here today. So in GarageBand, there are 10 free stock plugins that we can use to enhance our songs. And in this video, we're going to go through all 10 of them. So to add a plugin to any track that we have here in any project, it's as simple as going to the top here to our little mixer icon, to tapping on plugins and EQ, hitting the edit button, and then anywhere we've got one of these green plus buttons, hitting that, and hitting any of these 10 effects. And yes, you can download audio unit extensions. You can use the other Apple audio extensions, and there's a heap of video here on the channel that will show you all about those and how to install third-party plugins. But before you go and do that, it's important to check out these ones because there's a lot of cool stuff hidden in here. So let's go through these from top to bottom, one by one, and see what they all do. So number one effect is a bit crusher. So this one's going to be used in certain situations. Now for this project here, I've got this shout. So what I've done is I've removed a lot of the processing and plugins from this project so that we can check out these different plugins. So this track here, if we solo it, this is me just yelling. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like now without any effects. So that's kind of okay, but it needs some processing, yeah. And I thought a bit crusher might be a good one to use on this one. And what a bit crusher does is it actually downsamples the sound. So if you know about bit rates, you can reduce the bit rate to make it sound sort of more crunchy and old school. So let's throw the bit crusher on here. This is a pretty simple one. You've got your resolution here. You can start at 24-bit, which is the resolution that GarageBand records in. You can drop it down anywhere down to 8-bit. Which will give you a pretty crushed sound, 4-bit, all the way down to 1-bit sound. So let's use 8-bit for the example here on this bit crusher. And there's how much downsampling you can do. So you can do anything from 1x all the way up to 40x. So let's just do this at, say, the 3 times, which is the default. And we'll turn it down a bit because bit crusher can be a bit harsh. Let's see what this does to this shout. So you can hear how you get that kind of breakup kind of sound there. If we increase the amount of downsampling that we do here, let's make this like 10 times. Now take a listen. Now we've got that creature from the deep there. And again, if we drop the resolution right down here, let's go right down to a 4-bit sound and take a listen to this. Yeah, maybe not. So you can see that you can very quickly go overboard and over the top with this. So I reckon around about there is going to give us a little bit of crunchiness with this one. There you go. So that's going to work on that particular raw. We'll use some other effects to layer these up, because don't forget you can use multiple effects as you go through. The next effect that we're going to look at here on the Apple list is the chorus effect. Now, chorus can be used on a bunch of things, but where chorus loves to live is on guitar. So let's find our guitar here. We've got 2 guitars. We've got 3. We've got a lead, we've got a low riff, and we've got some chuggers. So I'm going to use the lead guitar because lead guitar and chorus go together like chips and gravy. So we're going to try this one. Now this time, you can see here, we've already used up all of our slots because we're using the guitar amp here. So we are going to have to sacrifice this wider plugin that we were using before. We can now hit the plus button here, and we can add some chorus. So if we turn it off, let's just listen to what this sounds like out of the box. So there is already a little bit of processing, and that's actually coming from this guitar amp sim. So I've already used some pedals here, which you can do. You can use these in conjunction with each other if you want to. So you can add chorus here in the pedals, or you can add it here. So we're going to add it in this one here now. And you can see with the chorus, you've got a mix percentage here. You've then got your intensity and your rate. So the intensity is how much chorus is going to be applied, and the rate is basically the speed of those warble sounds you get with a chorus. So let's turn the mix up just so that we're really going to be able to hear it, and play this with a little bit of chorus. Pretty cool, yeah. So we can then up the intensity if we want like more of a chorus sound on this guitar. A little haunted house kind of style. And then the rate is going to increase that speed. It's going to do something like this. Yeah, not really what we're looking for. So we want a little bit less. We want the intensity around maybe there, and then our rate just over that 1, just to give it that little warbly effect. Let's take a listen. Sweet. So there's our chorus. That's our second effect here in GarageBand. Let's move on to effect number 3. Let's find another track that we may want to process with our third effect. If we come in here, edit, hit the plus button on this one, it's distortion. And yeah, do we need some distortion? So this shout that we used before, we're going to distort this sucker up. So let's grab the distortion here. Distortion has drive, tone, and output here. So if we come back here and we hit on this one, let's take a listen to this shout that we heard before, with now the bit crusher and this default distortion dialed in. You might want to block the ears of anyone sensitive nearby. There you go. And if we remove that bit crusher and hear this with just the distortion, so we can hear just that sound, let's take a listen. Cool, but maybe we need a bit more. Let's up this drive and give ourselves a little bit more distortion. That's more like it. And now you can actually change the tone here as well. So if you want sort of more of a higher tone, we can up it there and the distortion will come on the higher end. That's a bit scary. Or we can bring it really guttural. Let's like bring it down to like 300 hertz and you're going to get a real low down kind of distortion like this. So I think we need it somewhere in between. I've never done so many roars in one video before. So we'll drop the drive down, yeah, maybe about 8 there, and we'll go with that. So that's your distortion plugin. Another cool thing to use distortion on is actually your drums, believe it or not. So drums can sound a little bit clean out of the box here in GarageBand like this. If you throw a little distortion on there, not that much, and then bring this up a bit, hear how that just makes them kick through a bit more? Yeah, so try your distortion on different things, and it can even work well for regular vocals, just to add a little bit of, just rub them in the dirt a bit, because sometimes things can sound a little bit too clean. Speaking of vocals, let's use this vocal line for our next effect. So we'll come in here once again, we'll hit the plus, we'll go into our flanger, and yeah, flanger is more at home on guitar, but we're going to use it on vocals just for fun here. So let's listen to this vocal as it stands without the flanger. Sounds like this.
The devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
Right. We'll just turn the compressor on there actually so that we can hear that vocal a little bit better.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a...
There you go. So we'll grab this flanger and we'll turn this one on. Just with its default settings, it's probably going to sound a bit wacky.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
Cool, right? So again, with our flanger, we've got similar controls here. You've got your mix, you've got your intensity, you've got your rate, and you've got this time your level of feedback. So you can adjust all of those. It's similar to the chorus effect. You can play around with those to your heart's content and get some cool sounds.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
So I'm going to go with around about that mark there on the flanger. And again, you can use flanger on guitars. You can use them on all sorts of different instruments. Let's grab our next effect here. We'll hit the plus button. We'll go to the Microphaser. Now let's use the Microphaser on a guitar. This time we're going to use the low riff of our guitar here, which is doing this kind of work here. Does this. There you go. So we definitely need something on this one. So let's try this Microphaser to see if that's going to make this one sound interesting. Actually, you know what? I'm wondering why that was sounding not why. It's because it doesn't have its tone bridge on there. It doesn't have its amp sim. So I'm pretty sure I had an amp sim on here. So let's turn tone bridge back on and there we go. But what I'll actually do is I'll leave that off for now so that we can actually hear the effect of this Microphaser a little better. So let's hit Microphaser on this one. This time you've got your low frequency oscillator here, the rate of this one that you can play with, feedback and intensity. So you can see these are pretty simple. They're pretty easy to use and you're going to be able to just experiment with these. Let's give this one a play. So you get a similar sort of sound to that flanger and it actually works really well with the distortion of an amp. Can you hear how it's actually creating like a stereo microphasing effect? It's really cool and it works really well on guitars. Try it on your organs, try it on your keys, your pads. It's a great little plugin there. Let's move on to our next plugin, shall we? Why don't we try it on these guitar chuggers, because the next one here is our overdrive, which is similar to distortion, but a little bit of a cleaner sound. So if you just want more of that overdriven tone, you can use overdrive. Now we'll turn it off for now because we're already using tone bridge. Let's take a listen to what it sounds like. Let's just bring this into the center so we can hear it better. So there's our little guitar loop doing its chugger chuggers, and that's it with the tone bridge on there. If we turn that off, it's going to be like this. And if we want to manually overdrive it, we can use the overdrive plugin. And the beauty of these is that you get very simple and very complete control over the tone. So what frequency you want the tone to drive at, and then how much drive you want. So let's put maybe 7 dB of drive on here around 1 kilohertz, 1000 hertz, and take a listen to what this is going to sound like on our chuggers. So it just gives you that subtle drive, and then as we turn it up, and if we want more of like a high-end sound, so you can just enhance the bits that you actually want to enhance in there. And then if you wanted to, say, drop the output of this down a little bit and bring your tone bridge back in, can create yourself a pretty interesting sounding tone. Probably doesn't work with that one, with that conjunction, but your overdrive is good. And the other thing I want to direct your overdrive attention to is vocals, because overdrive sounds really good. It's a tip for vocals. If your vocals are not sounding a little bit too kind of clean like this, I'll just solo that one. They're sounding a bit clean.
Never made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
Let's throw some overdrive on this. A little bit of drive on your vocals, probably only about 2 or 3 dB. It can just rough it up a bit.
The devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance. Yeah.
So if you're finding, like in digital recording, quite often your vocals can sound super dry and a little bit too clean. So sometimes just rubbing it in the dirt can actually really help with that sound. Let's move on to our next one. We've got a heap of stock plugins in here. Track Echo and Track Reverb are both very cool to use. So you can use Master Echo and Master Reverb. We've showed those in other videos. The track versions actually give you a whole lot more control over that echo and reverb. So let's use the echo here on this vocal.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
And the cool thing about these ones is that you can actually dial in the actual notes that you want, and it will sync up to the tempo of your track. So if you wanted to do it, say a quarter note that we have there, but if you wanted like a really quick slap back that's right on that 16th note, you can dial that in too.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
And you kind of sound like a horror movie there. So you can do that, and you can do it in triplets. You can do it however you want, or you can even do like a half note here to do it like on the second beats.
The devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
I kind of like that one. So we'll go with that one for this. And again, this is great for lead guitars. It's great for organs and all sorts of other stuff. The difference with this one is you can use this as a wet or a dry. So you can actually just dial in how much of this you want. So if we go with, say, 90% wet and 10% dry, other way around, 90% dry, 10% wet.
The devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
You just get that little bit there. Now, you've also got repeat and color here. They do some slightly different things. There's a full video all about Track Echo where I'd explain those in details, which you can check out here on the channel as well. Let's go over to reverb, shall we? Why don't we use the lead guitar here to show off our reverb, although we're going to run out of spots, aren't we? What can we use instead? What if we use the drums? Because a bit of reverb on some drums always sounds pretty kick-ass. So let's come in here, hit the plus button, go to Track Reverb, and add this to our drums. Here's the drums without the reverb. Let's add it in. And you'll notice there that, it gives you that stereo spread with your reverb. So that's another thing you have. You can have the time here. So if you want a really long reverb, you can add it there, and you can increase, again, the dry and wetness of that. So if we come in here and take a listen to it again. So there's a lot that you can play around with. And again, you'd probably not want to add as much. The default settings on these ones is probably why people don't use the stock plugins a lot, because they're like, no, it's too extreme, because they're kind of set to show you how they work. But once you actually play around with them, you can actually get quite a subtle effect like this. So you can just hear it just sitting there in the background. Very, very cool stuff. We've only got 2 plugins to go here. They are still pretty cool ones. So if we hit the edit button again and hit the plus button here, we have the Tremolo. I'm going to add Tremolo to my bass. So yeah, we have this nice bass loop here that's doing this. And what does Tremolo do? Well, it does something interesting. It usually is reducing and increasing the volume. In this case, we've also got some stereo phasing that we can do here. So to start with, we'll turn the stereo phase down so you can hear just the regular tremolo that's going to kind of bring the volume up and down. It sounds like this. So you can hear there just doing that. And you can change the rate by dropping this up and down. So if you want it to be sort of faster or slower kind of tremolo, you can change this. And then your depth control is going to change the depth of the tremolo. So that's how much volume will duck down every time that tremolo kicks in. The stereo phase is where it's at though, because this is what creates that cool kind of come as you are stereo phasing effect you get with a tremolo like this. Now you can go overboard with that. If you're listening on stereo speakers or headphones, you'll hear that bouncing between the two ears, and it will be doing it quite quickly because we've got the rate up there at the moment. But if you set your rate, if you play around with your rate and your stereo phase, you can actually get some pretty killer effects here on things like basses. Cool, yeah. All right, one final one to go. Let's come back over to our vocals, shall we, for the final effect. It's the final countdown. So we've already got tremolo on this. Oh, that's the wrong one. Come to our vocal. We're going to have to make some decisions here. So let's remove the flanger, because I like all the other ones a bit better. And we'll add in the vocal transformer, which is a bit of a fun one. You're not going to use this a whole lot, but if you wanted to change your vocal here, there's two sets here. There's the pitch, which can go up to 2 octaves, which is 24 semitones, or down 2 octaves. Now, because this wants to be a bit of a guttural sort of song, we're going to go down to bring this down a whole octave. Let's see what I sound like down an octave on this vocal.
Devil made me do it. He didn't have a chance.
Yeah, interesting. And you can play around with the formant, which is kind of like the tonal quality of the vocal here. So let's just experiment with this.
He didn't have a
Very fun. So you've got some options there to adjust your pitch. You know what we need to do. We need to go Peter the Chipmunk, don't we? So will you use the vocal transformer a whole lot? Probably not, but it's there, and it can be used to create some cool vocal effects. One thing that I do sometimes use it for is to double up my vocals, so to duplicate out one vocal and then add another one up or down a whole octave. It's a bit of fun to do. So there you go. There are 10 stock plugins that you can use in GarageBand iOS on your iPhone or your iPad for free right now. Play with them, learn them, and then if you find some gaps of things you need, by all means, you can go out and grab yourself some third-party plugins, but make sure you experiment with the stuff you get for free and see what it can do. Right? Cool. Now, I know that a lot of folks will know a lot of that stuff, and the reason I wanted to do this again is that I keep getting questions from people about all of these, and I needed to be able to clip a video and be like a one-stop shop that explains all 10 of those plugins and does it in a simple and easy way to use, and why they exist and what you can do with them. So thanks for hanging out and going through it with me. I take it that you folks, because a lot of folks that watch this show live especially, or even on the replay, are more experienced. You will know a lot of the stuff we go through. So, and I know some people have said, oh, you do the same things a lot. And yeah, but there are subtle changes over time to some of these things, and there's a lot of people that are coming on board now that are trying to learn things, and they just want a new and updated video to learn about it. All right, yeah. Now that we've summoned the angry beast and the angry kitty. Vocal transform on drums can be fun too. Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I showed some of those effects on different kind of things, because I think sometimes we get caught in, oh well, a flange and a chorus is only for guitar. Where did I go? There I am. Webcam. There you go. And yeah, and your vocal transform is only for vocals, but you can actually use this stuff across a lot of different things. Absolutely. Omni Collective Creativity says extra singer works, but doubled vocal as well. Yeah, and look, we could have been here. We could have spent a lot of time here going through all the different stuff, because there is also all the different vocal presets, and your vocal presets actually have different stuff in them. You might have noticed that before, that if you go into your vocal presets, there's actually some things in here that you can't get from the actual things that you put on there. So if we go, for instance, to the extra singer here, it brings in, if we go to the plugins and EQ, is this one that has different things in here? Yeah, so it brings in this tape delay and stereo delay. They're not things you can actually add there, and it adds the vocal transformer there as well. So there's things here you can do. And of course, the most common one of those, if you go to something like the Radio Ready, you get the enhanced tuning plugin, which is one that you don't get. That pitch control plugin, you can't add that manually. You have to select a preset that has it and then adjust it from there. So there's a couple of additional tips there for that one. Yes, exactly. The vocal presets are from Logic, correct, and they do bring in some of the cool Logic only stuff that we don't have in GarageBand, that we get for free. Alrighty, we got 10 minutes left because it was a jam-packed show with lots of stuff here as well. Sorry, was that true? All mere prelude to what we're seeing now? I'm not sure. Not sure, Gary, what that's a reference to, my friend, but thanks for being here. So we'll do the last couple of topics here. So the rant of the week, and look, it's directly related to this, and that is that not everything is going to be for everyone. I've been on a bunch of, I've made the mistake of being on a bunch of forums and Facebook groups and places this week, and I keep seeing the same thing. It's a little bit of a broken record sometimes that I'll be seeing people having discussions, and it's almost like people can't resist the urge to tell people that they don't like a thing or that a thing is bad. And the problem is that not everything is for me, and not everything is for you, and not everything is for everyone. And I think that's actually awesome. But it really comes down to the fact that when you can sometimes scroll past, yeah. And I know that I'm not talking to really anyone watching this show or anyone in this community, but it's very prevalent when I see other communities where people just seem to be really angry all the time. And if you can't have fun and have a laugh and enjoy your music stuff, then what are you doing? Like, why would you spend time doing this if you're not enjoying it? And look, I know that there's the whole, some people enjoy being angry, some people like the fight, some people like to cause trouble and stir, but I can't imagine that there's that many people that fit that mold that also want to create music. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. But yeah, I've just saw a couple of times, and because I'm a moderator on a few different Facebook groups, a couple of times where I've had to moderate in the last few weeks, it's really just been that someone has made a completely innocent comment and someone has just come out of nowhere to make a really inappropriate comment. So I just want to say, if you're doing it, don't do it. But if you see it, like, step in. Like, there's a very easy way to do it. If you're on any forum, most forums will have a way to flag a comment or to escalate to a moderator. Just do that. Because it's not fair on people. If you see something unjust or someone doing that, either call them out on it. If you're not comfortable calling them out on it, call the cops. And in internet land, that's your moderators. Because if it makes one person stop creating or stop sharing or stop their joy of music because someone else tries to shoot them down over something that's not for them, then I don't think that's a good deal. And I think that we should do that. Alrighty, Clayton Von Clue says, I know a couple of D-bags who look for trouble and try to be all subtle, and yeah. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes passive aggression is almost as bad as aggression, and you can tell. And I've seen it. And some people that I've had to call out on some behavior, they're just like, but, oh no, you got it all wrong. I wasn't trying to do that. I'm like, yeah, you know exactly what you were doing. You were being a snarky D-bag, and stop it. Just move on with your own life. Anyway, if anyone has any questions, we do have about 8 minutes left to go, so feel free to just pop the word question in front of your question if you have a question. And I want to show you a couple of things here. So my plugin or app of the week this week is actually going to be Safari. Now wait, stop before you turn off the stream. I get asked a lot from folks saying, I can't use this website or this website. I can't update my YouTube videos. I can't upload to DistroKid on my iPad or iPhone. And the answer these days usually is Safari. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go out of GarageBand here on my iPad, and I'm going to jump back into Safari. Because recently I actually showed this, that if you want to upload a song to DistroKid or to, say, SoundCloud or Slaps.com and it's not working on your mobile browser, coming here into Safari and requesting the desktop version is the way to do it. So if you're not familiar with this, just load up Safari on your iPad. It does work on iPhone, not quite as well, but it's still possible to do it. And these little A's here, it's really weird, the place that they put it. You basically tap on the little A's here and you hit request desktop site. So if I go back to the mobile site, it'll take me back to the mobile version of DistroKid, which doesn't actually look that different here. But the difference is if you go here and you go request desktop site, it means that any of those features that it blocks from a mobile site will be able to be visible. Now, the better place to show this here is YouTube. So if you are a YouTube creator or you're sharing your videos on YouTube, and I know many of you do, you will know the frustrations of having to manage your videos, because you can use, it'll say here, look, it says here, quick, open the YouTube Studio app to do this. Well, guess what, folks? The YouTube Studio app doesn't allow you to upload videos. It doesn't allow you to do things like end screens and cards. It doesn't allow you to fully edit your descriptions, to fully edit all your tags, to do this show more, to do all of this business down here. It really is not full featured. You've got so many more options here on the website version. And to get to all of this, you need to do that same trick here to make sure you're here and you've got the desktop site. So for instance, on this Studio Gear video I did recently, I want to add a card because I talk about my mobile gear video partway through. And if you're releasing a music video, you may want to throw a card or an end screen there to direct people to your other videos. But if you're not on a desktop, you can't do it. Russ8889, I'm talking to you. I know there's a lot of folks that use 99% iPads and iPhones. Come in here, Safari, desktop mode, and then come in here and hit on end screen or cards. So if I go say end screen, it's going to bring me to my end screen here. Just give it a minute because it has to load up the video. And because you're in a desktop browser, it's a little bit slower and clunkier. But from here, you can see I can preview my video. I can see what it's going to look and sound like. Into the description for links to all the gear I showed here and a link to my gear guide at studiolivetoday.com/gear. And tap or click right here. So you can see there, I was able to set this up using this. And if I wanted to say add a second video here, I can just go add element. Let's add a video and let's just make it the best for the viewer. And let's pop that over on the other side here and grab this one and drag the front of that so that it starts at the same time. And now you'll see it'll pop up this second video at the end of livetoday.com/gear and tap or click. So if you're a mobile creator and you're sharing your stuff on YouTube, this can just enhance your video. So if someone watches your music video, they get to the end, you can set it to bring up those cards that will pop them there. Same with cards here. If we tap on cards, I can add this card to the start of the video here. So let's just play this video and wait for it to pop up. There it is. We'll hit play. In this video, I'm going to take you through the 13 pieces. So I'll just put that down, and we can scroll through here. The Home Studio. It's a little bit clunky, as you can see, because again, first up we have all the gear that we're going to cover is over on my gear guide at studiolivetoday.com/gear. We've already covered my mobile setup. So there's the spot where I want to put my mobile setup videos. So all I need to do is cue that up there and come up here to video. And again, this could be a great, like halfway through your video. And if you look at your analytics, you might see where people stop watching your video. You can then send a link to another one of your videos saying, you could put bored, come and check out some metal or whatever. So I want to link to this video, which is my mobile one, and it'll put that card up the top and hit save there. So I just wanted to show this because I get this question a heap from mobile creators in particular using GarageBand iOS to say, how do I use some of these apps and some of these services that aren't working on the app version? Well, the answer is Safari, this little AA, and requesting the desktop site, and you will be good as gold with your mobile creativity. All right, let's, the last thing we want to talk about here, and then we can go a little bit of overtime if you like. If there's any questions, we'll go overtime. Let's do this. So one thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that if we come back over here, did you know that not only can you copy and paste between your GarageBand projects themselves, either within the project or between different projects, you can also copy and paste from completely different apps. So anything that allows you to copy audio, you can copy it and then paste it in to another app. So why don't we grab another app here? Let's say we go to Audio Share. We can tap there, Audio Share. If we jump into Audio Share, now, obviously one way is to export it, put it in your GarageBand Share project folder, and then bring it on back in. But if you want to sort of shortcut that one, if you copy from here, so we can just copy to our general pasteboard, we can copy the audio there. If you do that, if you come back over here to GarageBand, anything that you copy in your general clipboard there can then be pasted in to anywhere else. So if you've got something in Audio Share you want to quickly bring into GarageBand, copy and paste it just like that. It's going to work a treat. The other thing is, what if you're doing some voice recording? So I've been working on some stuff lately, and we'll go to my voice memos app here. If you've been working on some voice recordings and you wanted to grab a voice recording here, here's one I recorded somewhere in the city, somewhere around some park in the city. So we can grab this one. And again, anything that we can copy. And if you can't see a copy button, your share sheet will always have a copy button. So hit your share sheet and then come down here and tap on this top one, copy. So instead of, again, don't have to save the file anywhere, you don't have to store it and then import it, just hit copy. And then you can come back over to any other application such as GarageBand, just tap in blank space and hit the paste button. And it's going to, well, why can't I paste in that location? Oh, end of a song section. Hang on. Paste it out here. Nope. All right, we've ruined that by putting that one there. Try it again. One more time, Johns. Okay, so it worked perfectly in testing. And now it's not working at all. Let's come out of there and open up a new project, because I don't know what I did to that project to make it not work. But if we come in here to a new project, always the way, isn't it? I tested that about 3 times and it always worked absolutely flawlessly. And now it's like, no, it's not right. So there we go. Beautiful. So yeah, you can paste it in directly into there. So there you go. That is the way to do it, to copy and paste between your different applications, and you'll be good to go with your iOS music production. Alrighty, we are at the end here. I'm just going to scroll on up and check out what other folks have got to say and see if there's any other final questions. Let's see. We'll see if there. So I've got, the on and off screen. Oh yeah, so the card. So yeah, if you're wondering about the end screens and the cards, I should probably do a whole video on that. I do talk a lot more about that side of things with my patrons. So, not to be a shameless self-promoter, but if you do want to learn more about the behind-the-scenes stuff of YouTube video creation and the channel here, consider becoming a patron, because we do talk about a lot of that stuff. So yeah, there it was. What's the difference between an end screen and a card? So yeah, so the cards, end screen is only at the end. It can only be in the last 30 seconds of a YouTube video, and it's the little cards about a look. I know Omni Collective Creativity, just spilled my coffee, is visually impaired, so you probably haven't seen these, but in the last 30 seconds of a video, it will pop up. I'm sure voice record will tell you. Screen record. What am I trying to say? Voice assistant will tell you, but there's 2 cards that pop up, or you can set that for multiple cards. You can set for a subscribe button to pop up. So yeah, you can basically direct people where to go, tell people where to go at the end of your video. Cards you can place anywhere in the video. So for me, if I'm doing a tutorial, so say that effects video that I recorded in today's live show, when I release that as its own standalone video, I'll be able to put a card in. So when I'm talking about vocal transformer, I'll throw a card in there to my vocal transformer video. So if anyone wants to go and see that, they can just click and takes them straight over to there. So that's the main difference there. So it works very well. It just gives people that option if they want more information about something there. Thank you, G Flat. Yes, I hope that helped. So I could copy and paste a track from, say, my jazz drummer back to GarageBand. Yeah, anything audio, Gary. So that's the main tip there is, if MIDI, it doesn't like MIDI, like GarageBand doesn't do great things with MIDI. But yeah, if you've got an app that exports audio, just basically go to where you'd normally export it, hit the copy button instead of having to save it anywhere. And then, if it's an audio file, it'll just paste it in as an audio file. And I think the problem you saw when I showed it here was that the file, I was in a position, I think I had my playhead. Let's just test this actually. Was my playhead in a position where it wasn't enough room? No, it creates more space. I think I had it set to a certain number of bars, and I think I was trying to paste it past the end of itself. So that was probably the problem I had there. Yes, you can copy voice recordings. So go to your share sheet, hit the copy, and then just go to your GarageBand and paste in, and you can paste your voice recordings straight in to GarageBand. It's gold. I wonder if the Apple split screen will have any weight with this stuff. Yeah, potentially. It's the new options that we have are definitely things that will make me consider getting myself an iPad. I'm not real, exactly. I'm very much fake. I'm a robot, after all. Right, we'll see if we've got any final. Yeah, exactly. I'm just a clever simulation. Geez, you'd program me to speak a bit clearer and slower if I was actually just an aberration. Voiceover is the word I was looking for. Thank you. It took me a while, didn't it? Voiceover. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Thomas. If you do want more information, do come and check out the Patreon. Speaking of checking things out, I reckon, if I'm not mistaken, our mate Rockin' Ronnie Ward is probably live right about now, is he? No, he's live at 10:30. Is that today? We're still waiting on Ron, so there you go. If you want some more entertainment value for your Tuesday morning or Monday afternoon, jump on over here. Rockin' Ronnie Ward. It's the master lists. Sorry, I don't have the delay. I've only got the reverb on mine. I could change it around, but then I'll mess it up for my next show. So yeah, jump on over to Rock and Ronnie Ward. He looks like he's ready to go. So that folks can go over there. Why don't you jump there now? Look, here's what I'll do. We'll copy that and we'll paste it here in the chat. So go over, say good day to Rock and Ronnie Ward. Tell him that Pete sent you over and that you've been hanging out in GarageBand Weekly. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thanks for hanging out. I know it's a bit of a different sort of show here today, but hopefully you learned a little bit and had a bit of a laugh, and you don't have to now go watch 2 hours of Apple telling you how stunning and gorgeous everything is. But of course, you can go do that if you want to. Let me know in the comments if you are planning to pick up one of those new Macs, or if you're excited about any of the features that are coming out. And thanks for all of your support and your questions and comments and interactions here today. That's me for the week, but guess what? We kick things off in a big bad way later, because there's a heap of shows happening here. We've got a YML Extra show on Thursday. Well, Ron's about to go live here. We've got a YML show on Thursday. That'll be at the morning time for our folks in the US and Canada. It'll be the middle of the day in the UK and Europe for a change, which will be lovely for you folks. And it'll be the evening for our Australian friends. I've then got a great interview with the Creator Town Hall, which is April Keys, a singer-songwriter extraordinaire. She's awesome. You want to check that one out. And then, of course, we've got the regular weekend fare of the Happy Hour and YML and GarageBand Weekly. So thanks, everyone, for being here. Thanks for hanging out. If you can hit the like button on your way out as you wipe your feet. And I hope you had fun here. Don't forget, please, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time on GarageBand Weekly. See ya.
GarageBand Weekly.
Bye.
GarageBand Weekly.
Arrivederci.
GarageBand Weekly.
Sayonara, suckers.